Avichi College of Arts and Science is a unit of AVM Rajeshwari Education Trust. The trust was established by Srimati AVM Rajeshwari and other eminent members of their family as its trustees. It is a co-education institution affiliated to the University of Madras. It commenced its curriculum in the year 2018 during the august leadership of Mr. AVM K. Shanmugam sir. His motto is to equip students from nobody to somebody. Avichi College of Arts and Science offers undergraduate programs such as BCom General, BCom Accounting and Finance, BCom Bank Management, BCom Corporate Secretariat, BBA, BSc Visual Communication, BSc Computer Science, and BC. With the support and the guidance of our principal sir, we inculcate practical knowledge to the students in our curriculum and also offers mentorship program by our professional experts. During the first year of the BCom course, our students got the opportunity to be an intern at IIT Madras. We also give more importance to sports activities by which our students participate in state and national level tournaments for kabaddi and cricket, to name a few. Our students also actively involved in extracurricular activities like NSS, RRC, Environment Club, and Entrepreneurship Development Cell and Fine Arts Club.
On behalf of Avichi College of Arts and Science, I once again extend a warm welcome to this eminent group from HDFC, Sri J. Ranga Subramanian sir, Sri Balaji sir, and Sri Prabhakaran sir for today's webinar program. I think we are fortunate to have such a versatile personality who is well versed with the HR field about it. It is used to say that the biggest asset for every organization need not be a finance or capital, but it can be of the human resource. I think Sri Ranga Subramanian is in the right field. He is dealing in and out with all the human factor. It is considered to be the foremost, very important asset of every organization. And it is not a simple task to handle with the human factor because it's all just keep changing the attitude from time to time, from place to place, so it's gone. So with that, the very wide experience of our Mr. Ranga Subramanian, I hope that his delivery will definitely create a lot of exposure in the young minds of our students, and it will make a lesson that how one should equip themselves to face the future challenging career opportunities. So with these few words, once again, I welcome Sri J. Ranga Subramanian and his team to make a presentation on today's webinar. So welcome, sir, once again. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, morning everybody. Respected dignitaries from Avichi Institute, my dear colleagues from HDFC Bank, and the best things about what's happening in today's world are the students. Okay, so welcoming all the students of Avichi College, and thank you so much for the short and quick brief introduction, and thanks for the nice words, Avichi dignitaries. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I think it's a honor to address the students and talking to them about what's happening in the best part of the current situation, which is the banking. Okay, so am I loud and clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Perfect, sir.
Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do it is we will try to make it well informed to the people. So the briefing what I got was how do we make the students to know, talk, share about what are the various opportunities in banking. And we always have a dilemma, you know, when I was a student, when I was studying, the first thing which comes to my mind is, am I doing the right course? The second question which comes to my mind is, am I in the right college? The third is, okay, if I'm in the right, doing the right course, I'm in the right college, will I get right employment opportunity? Okay. And the fourth one is, will I earn enough money? Okay. These are the typical dilemma. And nowadays millennials has more is, the last one is, I want all those above. Plus I also don't want to do any sales. I want to do a desk job. That these are the typical dilemma one always has. So I will try to cover, address all these dilemmas to all of you. And in fact, I would say the students are lucky because a college like Avichi is organizing this kind of a webinars, and we were there. We never used to have webinars like this. Nowadays students are lucky. Nowadays students are also lucky to be having working, studying in such institutes, which gives a lot of importance for awareness building, okay, other than your curriculum knowledge. So wish good luck to all the students of Avichi, and thanks for the opportunity given by Avichi dignitaries. So I'll quickly cover what are the, this is nothing got to do with HDFC Bank. What I'm going to cover is very specific generic ones on overall banking, but for want of understanding, there would be some points which I will be covering about HDFC Bank. Okay, so next slide. So if I have to look at from opportunities in banking industry, let's see, first understand what is banking. So some of the informations are very self-explanatory, but basically what is banking? Banking is basically an industry which helps us to deal with cash, which helps us to deal with various products related to cash, okay, between two individuals, two organizations, okay, between for exchange of goods or services. This is typically a banking, and it's a regulated environment. We still come across people who are lending money as an individual, but though they lend on a high norm, completely breaking all the norms. So banking is basically was got into it to bring in a lot of regulation in and around all these financial transactions dealings, both from the lender and the person who's taking the money. So that's the whole purpose of bringing this kind of a regulated environment. So, and that's what the banking came into picture. Now, the second aspect is what are the type of banks we have got. So I'm sure all of us would have heard typically only PSU and private sector banks. Okay, but we have got so many varieties of banking. So we have got something called commercial bank. We have got a public and private sector bank, which most of us are aware of it. We have got something called rural banks, regional rural banks. We have after the banking regulation has come, we have also got in the small finance bank. We have got the payments bank. Okay, we have got the local area bank. We have got the cooperative bank. Now, all these banks are gotten purely because one is from a segmentation of customers, or segmentation of an industry, or segmentation of a geography. It is a combination of that. So if you look at in this slide, basically the banking is got into it because for all these situations. And if you have to look at it here, most importantly is the way our demographics is growing. If you look at a population is one key advantage. While it has got a lot of disadvantages, but from a banking perspective, one key advantage is the demography is changing. Your age profile of people are changing. Okay, now people are getting into more into deep geographies, whether it's a rural, semi-rural industry. Okay, so that is what is happening, and by virtue of that, a career in banking will entail what? First, it creates a lot of opportunities for employment for people. It creates a lot of opportunities for industries to grow. There could be small scale industry. There could be specific to a particular, like for example, recently you would have seen PPE is one such important thing where a lot of industries are started manufacturing PPEs. And so this brings in a lot of diverse opportunities, and ultimately everything leads to a economic growth. So if I have to look at it, among all the industries what we have got, banking is always referred as a sunrise industry. Why it's a sunrise industry? You may have a downtown of say a pharma company. You may have a downtown of an IT company. You may have a lull period for whatever reasons. But whatever situation happens, banking, it does not go for a downtown, because every industry requires the support of a banking system in terms of lending, in terms of various products. So banking is always referred to as a sunrise industry. Okay, and by virtue of all this, even in banking, it has created a lot of creative opportunities. A lot of innovations have come into picture. So this gives you a complete understanding of what are the various kinds of banking, why banking has come, and what are the various uh, which has led to further growth of the banking industry. Next slide. Okay, now this slide gives you a little bit of understanding how banking has evolved in India. Okay, so it goes way back to 1921. So where uh, there was something called a state-owned imperial bank was formed. So this is a very self-explanatory slide, but I'll quickly touch upon one point. So if you look at, it started with an imperial bank in 1921, then RBI was established in 1935, then imperial bank expanded its network over a period of time, and it became a state bank of India. Okay, and then in between 1956 to 2000, a lot of commercial banks were formed. 14 commercial banks, 6 more banks got added. Private sector got into it. ICICI, HDFC got into it. Then also, if you look at in 2000 onwards, we got into this NBFC, like Kotak Mahindra Finance Limited was formed. Okay, so this is, if you look at it, this gives a very interesting growth, how the banking sector has evolved over a period of time. And in 2018 onwards, we are seeing more, new small finance banks have come, payment banks have come, and all this has led to a steep growth of the banking industry from 1921 till date. Next slide. So this is once again a very noteworthy slide to look at it. If you have to see how the economy has grown, what are the various. So if you look at in the top slide, top portion of the slide, it gives you a little bit of a growth in terms of numbers. So they are self-explanatory. But I'll touch upon the table on the right-hand portion. What are the various trends which is happening in the banking sector? What has happened is, while when anything got to do with money, there is always a potential for risk. Okay, so a lot of risk mitigation practices have come. So risk functions have come, whether it's an operation risk, whether it's a credit risk. Various risk functions have come in. And more importantly is financial inclusion. If you look at since India is growing in a semi-urban and rural industry, our financial inclusion plays a very, very important role. We would have come across a lot of self-help groups which are formed. They have come into picture, and it's no more just a lending of money to the customer. So banking are also getting into more revenue streams. For example, you have something called a banker model, banking selling insurance products. So that becomes a revenue stream. Interest margin becomes a revenue. So there are various aspects which comes into. I will cover about that later, but I'm just talking about it. A lot of innovations have come. Earlier, we used to going into a bank, withdrawing money. We go there, we go and update our passbook. I'm sure many of you may still do for your father, mother, or grandparents to go and update the passbook. Pension would have come, go and update it in the passbook. From there we have moved into a digital banking. So you can, in your phone itself, you can download an app and do all your transactions on that. So a lot of innovations have come. For example, in HDFC Bank, we have something called a second of a loan. If you're a customer, if you need a loan, within 10 seconds, the loan gets credited into your account. So that is an innovation. And there is a lot of requirement coming into know your customer. We call it as KYC. Are you sure you have the right customers with you? Have you done the due diligence? Okay, that is has come. So, and if you look at earlier, if you have to give money to somebody, you will give a check. That person will go to the bank and deposit into the account. It will take 4-5 days minimum for amount to be credited. Like today, I can do a wireless either through an RTGS or a NEFT. I can go and do a transfer. I can add beneficiary. I can add, I can do all those things. Credit card payments I can do online. So these are the various trends which has come in the banking sector, which never used to be many years back. So there are banks which have introduced using face recognition software. So it's going beyond expected levels in terms of the innovation, and innovation will continue to be there. Some of the banks are giving hard fight for Google Pay and Amazons of the world. That is going to be the game of it now and the future. So I would say this very powerful slide, because as a student you will all understand why is banking, what is me. We all would have heard about banking, I'm sure our parents would have told us, but this level of granularity, unless you work in a bank, you don't get to know about it. So that's the reason I was feeling you're all quite lucky to at least get a good understanding about the banking industries. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, this slide gives you a good understanding of what few examples I've given. I'm sure there are a lot more names which will come, but just to give you three key differentiation, we have something called public sector, private sector, and old generation private sector. So public sector banks are typically what? Any bank which has got a majority stake by the government. Okay, they are called as public sector bank. For example, I've given few names. I'm sure there are a lot more names. SBI, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, all these are public sector banks, which is owned, majority stake is owned by the government. It's like a, the MDs of these banks are appointed by the government appointed committee, etc. The next one is new generation private sector banks. These are basically where these private sector banks are not owned by the government, by the shareholders. Shareholders could be any one of us, like you and me, where we buy the share of the bank and we become a shareholder. So it also has some amount of foreign institutional investors as well. So it is elections, the appointment, everything is ruled separately by the private sector banks are separate. And these are all the norms could be little different, so they are called as private sector banks. So I've given you few examples of here. Other than ICICI, HDFC, you'll have Axis, Kotak, Bandhan Bank. These are all new generation private sector banks. Now, old generation private sector banks on my right hand side, okay, which is basically your, what are these? Why are these called as old generation private sector banks? These banks are basically prior to the nationalization in 1968 when they were formed, but they chose to maintain their identity, or in terms of their product feature, or in terms of localized. For example, J&K Bank is based out of Jammu Kashmir. They have wide presence in Jammu Kashmir, whereas in other locations they are reasonably present. Okay, then you have got something like it used to be like Karur Vaishya Bank is there. Okay, like a City Union Bank. City Union Bank is based out of Kumbakonam. Okay, Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank. All these are old generation private sector. They continue to exist. They are still guided by the bank regulations and norms, but for want of identity, they continue to be called separately. But they are no way different compared to either a public sector or a new generation private sector, because their products are all there. Some products may exist, some may not exist. The interest rates can vary, but these are typically continuing to serve the customers. So like a Catholic Syrian Bank, you will see a Federal Bank, okay, Karnataka Bank, South Indian Bank, all these are old generation private sector banks. So next slide. Now, just to give a little bit of, yeah, sorry, continue. Just go, if you look at this particular slide, you may all know, okay, all these are there. So this is like a business understanding which we want you all to have. So these are all the key performance indicators for the bank. So I've given you a few KPIs, excuse me. Yeah. So these are the few KPIs. There are a lot of KPIs are there. KPIs are basically key performance indicators. So there is something called net interest income and margin. We call it NII and NIM. Okay, we have a CAR, capital adequacy ratio. We have a NPA. We have total deposits. We have return on assets. So if you go through the slide, I'll give you all say a minute to go through it. While this is not a theoretical one, but you get to understand how banks are measured. For example, every corporate has got way of measurements. Even banks are measured by these parameters. So if you have to say NIM is X percentage or X absolute amount in X bank, in A bank, whereas in B bank it is B. These are this is how the banks are compared and differentiated. So for want of your convenience, On the third column, I've given you a few examples across various banks, how it is. For example, NPA means what? It's basically non-performing assets. Any asset which you invest, if it is not going to give you any money, it has become a debt investment, it becomes an NPA. So net NPA is how it is classified in this definition. Now, total deposits, basically how much amount I'm able to collect it, okay, from the customers by way of various deposits. That is called as a total deposit. So if you go to the right, you will get to see HDFC Bank. I've given an example for each of these parameters, so you get a good understanding about it. So when some of you may be interested in share market, some of you may buy shares. Okay, when you get to see buy the shares, these are the things you will need to see it. Okay, if you are buying a share of HDFC Bank, you should say, okay, NIM of HDFC is this, whereas NIM of other bank is this. So this gives you a good understanding of it, and that also tells you the financial strength of the banks. Okay, because at the end of the day, banks are measured based on the quality as well as the quantity. Quality is in terms of your quality of customers, your quality of books of accounts, your quality of various aspects of it comes into it. So for bank, for us, these are very critical, some of the key critical parameters. But I'm sure all of you are smart students. If you go and do a Google, you get to see KPIs for any bank. Some KPIs may vary between the public sector, scheduled bank, but overall, every portion of the banks would have keep performance indicators to measure their own performance. Okay, now this slide is basically give you a little bit about HDFC Bank, how we have been as a sustainable employer. So we started in the year 95, and if you look at the bottoms gives you from 992 in terms of crores, balance sheet size, the way we have grown. And now the top slide talks about our key performance parameters, how our deposits have increased, by what percentage, how our revenues have increased. So basically for us as a bank, one as a HDFC Bank, but overall as a bank, for us key aspect is how are we able to acquire customers, how are we able to get more customers, okay, and how are we able to increase the deposit size, how can we increase our lending, what interest we are able to earn, what revenues we are able to get. Net revenues are basically my profit after all my expenses becomes my net profit. How am I able to increase that? So this gives you quite a good understanding about HDFC Bank's few KPIs in terms of performance. Yeah, next slide. So other bank institutes, if you have to look at NBFC, so some of the NBFCs we have given are Bajaj Finserv, Edelweiss, Aditya Birla, L&T Finance. Now, what are these NBFCs? NBFCs are also, it's called non-banking financial institution. So basically they are established to provide financial services to the customers, similar to the bank. They are not called as a bank, okay, but they are still governed by RBI, because RBI is the ultimate authority in terms of controlling whether it's private sector or NBFCs. But their products can differ, their rules can differ, their KYC norms can differ, but nothing can go against the basic laid out policies of RBI. If you look at the next one, MFIs are basically microfinance institutes. Okay, so what are microfinance? But basically they provide support to low income individuals. For example, you may have farmers, low end of the category who does not have a proper account. So they do for these kind of people, or self-help groups, we call it SHGs, or JHGs, joint help groups, providing support to them, like a banking correspondent. These people also need to be supported with other financial products. So that's how they do it. But MFIs are very clear product segment to target these set of people. So for example, a private a bank customer will also be a corporate bank. For example, TCS could be a customer of, say, HDFC Bank. You may have a shipping corporation be as a customer of HDFC Bank. Whereas in MFIs, it's very clear. Your targets customers are your unemployed or low income individuals or groups. So that's how the demarcation happens between a public sector, a private sector, an NBFC, and a MFI. So you should understand how, and as a student, you have opportunities in all these places. That's the beauty of it. It's just not only you can go to a private sector or only to a public sector. So the students have got plethora of opportunities across all these institutes. The key is what? Understand, learn your subject well, pick up your domain, and don't be fixated with a particular, I will do only XYZ roles. Only those three things. I will touch upon it later when I complete this slide on these banking slides. Next slide. Okay, I mentioned in the initial what are the various innovations has happened, but let me take some time and do this. So open banking is basically what happens is today bank cannot develop every technology or every solution. Okay, so what we do something called APIs. APIs basically, so we may go to one particular set of industry or product, we may integrate our customers with that particular API product. So basically, it's an integration. So I don't need to develop that product in the bank. I may not have the expertise or experience. So I may end up integrating my customers, my internal database with the API. So that's what it's called as open banking, which means I don't let go my identity of the customers, which is ultimately it's my property as a bank. I have to protect the right of the customer, privacy of the customer, but I'm giving the facility for the customer to avail this benefit. So I make it as a integrated with the API product. So that's called open banking. Predictive banking is basically, I will give you an example. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure you or your dad or mom would get an SMS say you're eligible for a 20,000 loan, or you can walk into any of a branch and show your ID and take a loan. So what does it mean is every bank depends on the robustness of the bank, and every bank has got an intelligence. If they know a particular customer, they arrive at the trend of the customer. So they are the existing customer. So they know the customer's money on a particular day. This is spent by the account. This is the average balance the customer gains in his or her account, and this is how at the end of this is the various banks this customer transfers money either for credit cards or for children's school fees payment or for any kind of an online payment. So what they do is they go and tell this customer, you're using this thing like this and start using this. So they get the customer to use the other banking products. So that's called predictive banking. So that they are able to predict the behavior of the customer and they get the customer to start using that. So that's called the predictive banking. Now, the third one is artificial intelligence. RPA stands for robotic process automation. Now, what is happening is we have something called bots. Now, a lot of you people would have heard of what are these bots. Bots are basically, it's a replacing a physical query management resolution process. So if you are typically, I'm sure all of students will have a mobile phone. So you will basically call your customer care of any of the telecom provider and say, I've got a query, I've got to recharge it. Or you go to any of those agencies, local distributors and go and recharge it. So basically bots are supposed to replace all that. As soon as you dial your from your particular mobile number, they can start asking you specific questions related to your query. So if two individuals are calling, the questions what they will get is very different. So basically this is artificial intelligence and machine learning. The machine learns from your behavior and starts giving you options basis your behavior over a period of time. Okay, that's what is the artificial intelligence. In fact, I would encourage students in your free time, instead of your Facebooks and TikToks of the world, you should spend good 1/4 of your time getting to know all these things. What are the various there are, and Google is the best learning tool over and above your faculty or your college or your library. It gives you a plethora of learning opportunities. Then the last one is voice bank. A lot of not only Indian banks but even international banks have gone into it. So you basis your voice, you can transact. You don't need to key in. So it recognizes your voice. The neural networks in the platform recognizes it, converts that into speech to text, and the entire operation happens basis this. And this is another brilliant innovation which is coming in the banking space nowadays. So one is your open banking, one is your predictive banking, one is your artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic process automation. Robotic process automation is more visible in where you got high volume transactions, right? So robotic process replaces those repeatable work into complete automations of that. So that's what happens in RPA. And the voice recognition, that's what happens. So these are the various innovations which has happened in banking. You would have seen in one of the bank, okay, like Amitabh Bachchan is a brand ambassador for that ICICI Bank. They take the tablet to the customer, they take a pic, everything gets done, account gets open. So a lot of banks like this have developed. It never used to be there earlier. You have to wait. You go to the bank, submit the document. You have to wait for 1 week, 10 days. Then your account number will be given to you. Then your checkbook will be given to you. Today it's not like that. Within 30 to 45 minutes, you will get to see your account is getting opened and you are being informed by account number on the call. So that's a beauty of innovations which has happened in the banking space. There's a lot of thrust on investments of people and money which goes into it. This is another platform where people have huge opportunity in banking as a career. Next slide. Okay, so basically, this is an extension of the previous slide. So earlier it used to be brick and mortar. I go to a branch, I have to physically visit. Now also we physically visit the branch. But what is the beauty is we have gone into more innovations. We have something called alternate channel. Okay, what is a channel? Channel is where you exercise a transaction. So when you go to a bank physically, that's one particular channel. Now, what are the alternate channels? Alternate channels are, rather than me going into a bank, what are the various channels available? So the first channel is net banking, okay, where I can do it through, go to sitting at my house, open a desktop or a laptop, type www.hdfcbank.com. I'll type my user ID password. I can transact. So that is called net banking. The second is mobile banking. That's the next channel. Mobile banking is what? In my mobile, I have a download an app, and then I do the same work. I can pay my credit card bills through mobile bank. So that's called a mobile bank. The third is your phone banking. Okay, there are a lot of channels, but I'm just taking three channels for want of understanding to you. Phone banking is you have a query, or you suddenly want to stop a particular transactions, or your credit card is lost, okay, or you forgot your pin. No, all these are your phone banking. So phone banking also is basically where you talk to somebody, and of course now bots are also replacing. Rather than hearing a human, you hear a bot and you get your transactions done. And the last bit is video banking. Video banking is basically you sit across, open your iPad or tablet, you talk to somebody, get your work done. So the face recognition happens. So all these are called as, all these alternate delivery model are called as phygital delivery, which is physical and digital put together as phygital delivery. And the beauty is, if you recall the earlier slides when I said how the demographic is changing, so our age pattern is changing, and we do understand people between say 18 to 25 years are completely uh, got very well acclimatized to using of smartphones. So all of them are able to adopt to this very well. So that's what we see a huge growth happening in physical digital model, and that's how it is happening over a period of time. And this is uh, earlier it used to be 80% going to branches, 20% happening. Now I would say 60% happens through alternate channel, or 70%, 30% happens through physical. It varies between banks to banks, but by and large, it has almost become 70% digital. You would have hardly come across your dad or mom going to a bank unless there is a demand to it. Otherwise, everything gets driven. I can pay my rent, I can pay my bill, whether it's a BSNL bill or whether it's a gas, electricity connection, everything you can pay it online. You don't need to go physically and make it. Add it as a beneficiary and everything can be done. That's a beauty of innovations happening in banking. Next slide. So innovations is a huge, you can speak for hours and days because that's how it has happened. But we do have a paucity of time. So I've tried my best to cover the important aspects of it. So advantage India. Okay, now you must all be thinking we are all forced to stay at home. COVID has happened, lockdown has happened. All these are negativity aspects of it. Keep this 3 months aside. Otherwise, how the Indian, how as in India as a country we are growing. There's a huge, by virtue of population, there's a huge demand in terms of workforce, in terms of products, in terms of people, in terms of customized products. So there is a huge robust demand which is happening, okay, which banks can offer. Of course, the second one is innovations. Okay, mobile platform is increased, ATMs are still increasing. While you may still have a alternate channel, in fact, ATM is another channel where you can go to any of your ATM, take a loan, apply for a loan. So that's an ATM is another channel. So that's what is happening. For example, you must have heard Department of Post has launched the mobile banking facility for all post offices, because we have a huge franchisee of post office, right? And they are you leveraging that as their channel as well. Okay, so they have also implemented banking. So their post office has also got the payment license aspect of it. Okay, so the third is your business fundamentals are continuing to be given a lot of focus. Fee income is happening. Various products are getting introduced. Customized products are getting introduced. Banker model is happening. Bank is selling insurance products. So all the business fundamentals are getting addressed. And to do all this, you need to have the right policy. What kind of loan to give to what customer? So there is a huge thrust of liquidity is happening. Like every one of the key performance parameter for any bank is liquidity. Do you have the right funds? Okay, well, liquidity is basically it's like a cash reserve one has to maintain. At every bank has to maintain certain percentage of cash reserve, and you can maintain more than that. So very few banks, I would say, are pioneered in this, and that clearly shows the health of the bank. So any bank, if it has got a huge cash reserve, which means you can be sure their policies are very robust, their practices are very transparent, because we have come across many banks which has become existent. Okay, all has happened because of very poor usage of liquidity. And that is a very critical one. So how you're able to leverage. So for example, you would have come across every bank introducing moratorium now for 3 months, 4 months, and all that. So your bank policy team should quickly adapt to those kind of decisions which are taken by the government. Okay, like waiver of agricultural loan, which happens, your policy has to be strengthened. Your moratorium happens, your policy has to be strengthened. So this is a very critical one. So that's the beauty of this country, where we are able to adapt to all that. So while the COVID is a temporary phenomenon for all of us, but as a bank, we are very upbeat that we have more growth opportunities coming our way once this lockdown is kind of got released. Because wherever population is there, there is going to be a demand and supply match will always be there. Sometimes there could be a mismatch, but overall there is a huge thrust for people needing products and services. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so till now you must have heard about this thing, but this slide I would want to cover what are the various specialist functions before we move into the generic roles and all. I would want people to be aware, because we are talking of careers to the students out here. So a lot of people have got dilemmas in their mind. One student will say, I can't afford, I can't pay much. I have to start working as soon as I finish my graduation. There are opportunities. Some will say, after this, I want to go and study further. There are opportunities. So everybody has got an opportunity. So there is an opportunity for an IM graduate. There's an opportunity for a normal graduate. But the opportunities are there. But what opportunities is basis the individual's performance, aptitude, plus their fitment into the role. But if you look at in this particular slide, that these are the few specialist functions. There are lots more, but these are the few. Like treasury is one example where you deal with the bank's liquidity, cash flow and liquidity. So treasury and asset liability management on the diagonal side, both like how banks lend to the customers, but you also heard me talking about cash reserves, right? So this treasury and asset liability function takes care of the bank's cash flow. Okay, what goes in, what goes out, how much we should keep it. Okay, what kind of, where do we need to invest, because banks also invest in debt equity products, foreign exchanges, any kind of a cash instruments. So these two functions are a hardcore subject matter experts. Okay, they are the responsible for performance of the bank. Okay, that's why treasury is on the topmost left hand side, asset liability management is on the bottommost right hand side. Now product management, is basically what? Fundamentally, bank is a CASA. We would have heard of CASA. Ka means current account, SA means savings account. But when there are, like for example, there are banks which has got a gold loan product. There are banks which has got personal loan product. There are banks which has got, okay, a tractor loan product. There are banks which has got a credit card product. There is a debit card. There is a credit card. There is a forex card. There is a traveler's card. All these are all various products of the bank. Now, why do we need this many products? For example, there is something called education loan. As a students, I'm sure a lot of you would have taken loan even for this kind of course. Education loan is a product. So the product management function is responsible to innovate various products. Okay, understand what are the various regulations which is come in and around that, modify this product, and if certain product has to be scrapped for whatever regulatory aspects, this product management function comes into it. On the left hand side, bottom most is control and risk. Control and risk is what? As I told you, we have basically first line of defense, second line of defense in a bank. Okay, like an audit is one function like that. Operations risk is one. So basically, these enabling functions or control functions determine how various functions are happening within the bank. So they go and audit a branch to see whether everything is followed properly. So these are all various controls and risk management functions. Managing the risk for the bank, for the customer, is a risk management function. Control is what all is being agreed as a process. Are the respective functions doing it as per that? Is this control function? Like HR is one function, IT is one function, technology is one function. So these are all various specialist functions in banking. So this is just to give you an understanding. There are enough and more opportunities for all of you. Okay, there will be continuing enough and opportunities. It depends on where you want to start and what you want to start with. So that is what this slide talks about. Next slide. Okay, now core banking system. Okay, you must be, this is very important. I want you to be aware. What is core banking system? Core banking system is basically, it is what your human internal body is all about. You've got various parts of the body which has to work together. Similarly, this core banking system is a system which will help to for the bank to transact any of the transactions with respect to the customers, with respect to the regulators, with respect to internal people. So this is what the core bank system. So any of the banks, whether you call it a private sector, public sector, will have to implement this core banking system. So in short form, it is called CBZ or CBS. Okay. So basically, there are three different products in the market. You have a TCS a product called Banks. Okay. The A is shown as Alpha. Infosys has got Finacle. Oracle has got FlexCube. So if you go to any of the bank, they would have to implement any of these three products, either a Finacle or a FlexCube or a Banks. So I've just given you an example of few banks which all products I've introduced. So this is an important aspect. For example, if you want to get into IT as a function, IT has got two domains of it. You will have a business analyst, you will have a hardcore developer. in banking, most of us will have a business analyst. So you should be well versed with this kind of a product, how it happens. And even that, you will have subject matter expert. There are people who specialize only in loan product. There are people who specialize only in asset products. So these are the various uh, CBS available in the market, and these are the various banks which have implemented it. So this is just to give you an understanding of the core banking system. Yeah, next. This is little about HDFC Bank. Okay, so we are 25-year-old bank. Our core values are on the right-hand side. We believe in operational excellence. Whatever we do, we would like to excel in that. For us, for whatever we do, customer is in front of us. Yeah, everything revolves around the customer. We would like to be a pioneer in a products, whichever product we would like to be the leader in the product, and we are of course market leaders. And whatever we do, we are looking from a sustainability, and people are the core for us. So these are the core values of the bank: operational excellence, customer focus, product leadership, sustainability, and people. And HDFC Bank in this 25 years have got huge, and we are the only bank where our MD has been in the bank for last 25 years. So no other bank, whether it's public or private sector, would have got this kind of a privilege. We are the only bank with the MD being there for the last 25 years. And on the left-hand side, you get to see a little bit about our bank. You know, we are 5,000 on average. We open 400 to 500 branches every year last few years. So as we speak, we have got 5,345 branches. We are spread across 2,787 cities, and we have got our ATMs, which is 14,533, and we also have got common service outlets. That's where this 3,421 banking outlets are there. Some of the awards which you have got is there, but if you go to our careers, meaning our HDFC Bank website, you get to see more products and awards which you have won over a period of time. Yeah, next slide. So this is once again on various products what we have got. You would have heard me talking about the product and innovation. So we are into retail banking. Retail is basically mass market segment. We are into both in assets and liabilities lending products. We are into wholesale banking piece. For example, we provide solutions for corporates. For example, let's take Avichi as an example. Avichi would have say 100 faculties. I know the entire uh, opening their account of them, processing the salary would be, we will do that. Fee collections, for example, all the students have to remit fees. We provide solutions to all the students, fee collection. So all these comes under our product segment. Treasury, which I've already covered, and these are some of the products which you have got on the right hand side. You know, all these are various digital products which you have got. Pays app, okay. I have already told you 10 seconds loan, where if you are an existing bank customer, basis your eligibility, you apply, you get the credit, of the account into your account within 10 seconds. No other bank has got this product till now. We have been pioneer in this last, at least to my understanding, last 6-7 years. So this is some of our little bit about HDFC Bank. If I have to look at the entire operations processing, I think we are the only bank with the largest volumes in whatever we are doing. I can say from a volume perspective, we are very high. And also, if I covered about various support functions, you can see on the bottom table, you'll see operations. These are all the various functions: finance, HR, audit. All these are various enabling functions in a banking space. So as a student, you have opportunity to get into a branch banking. This is one. So this slide gives you complete visibility about careers. So you will see sales assets and liabilities. Okay, I request whenever I say something, you highlight that so that people, students can follow it. You have something called assets and liabilities. Okay, for example, assets are what we lend to the customer. Okay, they are all assets. For example, we give a gold loan, we give a personal loan. Okay, so that is one function is there. Relationship management, where, for example, if I, as a relationship manager, acquire, say, your principal's account. Now, here I am as RM, I am as a single point of contact. If the I'm just giving principal as an example. So if principal wants to open an account for his family, we will take care of that. He will want to apply for a credit card, or he may want to take a car loan, or he may want to take a gold loan. So the relationship manager is one relationship manager is given certain set of customers, and he or she is the single point of contact for this customer. So customer will not call. So it's another channel. RM is another channel, right? So customer will not call a phone banking. He will not call. He'll not go into website. He'll just say, hey, listen, I need this loan. I need a loan of 2 lakhs. Please quickly organize. So the RM will get in touch with the other product and will say, let's go and meet this particular customer. And this is the customer profile. This customer is banking with HDFC Bank, say for 10 years. This average quarterly balance or average balance he maintains. This is his family account which is already with us, and this is what his requirement is. So basically the relationship management is managing the relationship of the customer as long as the customers with the bank. Okay, that's relationship management. Operations management is what? Operations management is transactions monitoring. Whatever transactions you do, you have to, it's every bank like an HDFC Bank size, the volumes are plenty. So as much as automations we do, there is always a maker checker concept which we have. So the operations management unit is responsible in executing all the operations. And for example, if RBI would have laid out a particular policy, so the policy gets defined by the policy team, but monitoring of the policy with respect to the customer, for this particular segment of customer, have I done XY things, is the responsibility of the operations management vertical. Collections and recoveries. Collections is basically, I've lent to a particular customer. Now the customer, as per the policy, is supposed to pay back to the organization, HDFC Bank, within this time. Whether it's a credit card, you have to settle the dues. But some reason, if the customer fails to do it. So if you look at NPS, one of the key parameters which I spoke to in the initial stage, I will say, I'm proud to say HDFC Bank's NPA is the best. You can go and do a Google search. One of the key critical reasons is, as much as the strong technology we have got, we have equally a strong collections team on this. So the collections team goes, meets the customers, makes them to understand, gets the recoveries done. That is the collections and recoveries. Analytics and interpretation is basically, this team is basically all marketing analytics, whether it's working with Python, or various platforms, working on that, predicting the customer behavior and saying that this customer next 3 months after that he or she will come and take a loan, predicting the behavior, or that is the responsibility of this. On the type, and the question is marketing. You would have heard me talking about product management, right, as one function. The role of the marketing is taking this product to the customer. How will they take it? For example, if you're designing a product, putting a standee, designing the product, whether it's physical advertisements or a press or a radio, the marketing and communications team is responsible to reach to the customer about the product and get them to come, call to action. We call it as call to action, right? So, and making the customer go and avail the product. That is a responsibility of the marketing. Marketing is basically designing the product, communicating the key functionalities of the product, using various mediums to reach out. You have something called ATL, BTL, right? Okay, so ATL marketing, BTL marketing. So these people are responsible for that, and they take the product to the customer to show the customer this is the product is all about. Credit and risk management is basically, credit is what? Okay, I am a customer, my earning is 5,000 rupees. Now, if I need a product, if I need a loan, maybe I'm eligible for a loan worth say 2,000 rupees. So credit is basically, what is the credit we have to give it to the customer. So that is the responsibility of this function. Devising the policy. Risk management I've already covered, so I'm not going to cover about. Legal, audit and vigilance I've already, audit I've covered, legal I'll cover. Legal is basically, this is just a very specialist function. Say after your graduation, you go and enroll into a national law school type where you want to become, so you can become either a corporate law, or you can be a person specializing in legal related to recoveries, related to any of these platforms. So that's the role of the legal function. Vigilance is basically monitoring the existing the employees, how are they using it, getting into the financial pattern, is there a somebody is misusing it. So vigilance is a more control on that. I've covered digital IT technology, I've covered HR is basically profile like me, in terms of HR generalist, talent acquisition. Learning and development is basically learning development function is basically what are the various things I can do to develop employees of the bank. That's a purpose, whether it's a technology, whether it's a physical, all this comes as part of the learning. So these are the various opportunities available for anybody like you, all students, okay, is what it is. Now let's look at how the recruitment is evolved in banking over a period of time. Earlier, I'm sure most of you would not have even born, but even when I was as a student, at that point of time, the recruitment in happening in banks, in public sector banks, used to happen through something called BSRB, Banking Service Regulations Board. Okay, now even now for public sector, it is more BSRB is abolished. We have something called now IBPS. Instead of banking personal services, they are the authorized person who they release an ad for, say, State Bank of India, and you have to apply, pick up the test, interview, and then you get selected. So the entire hiring in a bank has evolved over a period of time. Okay, so we have completely digital. A lot of private sector banks has gone digital. Okay, we also, if you look at in the left hand now here, no problem. We'll go to the next slide. So the next slide gives you understanding how give you a little bit of examples of careers banking. On the left hand side, you have public sector banks. So there's something called probationary officer program. So a lot of public sector banks roll out probationary officer. They also take people like today also I saw SBI is looking for a CFO, okay, on a 3-year contract. So all these are the typical example. I would have mentioned IBPS. If you look at the 3 last ones, okay, IBPS also. IBPS is a independent body which is vested the responsibility for hiring for public sector banks. Okay, so they do it one time for SBI, they do one for Bank of Baroda. So they may do it for different banks. So these are the left hand portion gives you for various public sector banks, including RBI. RBI also takes, but the hiring process in RBI is very different. If you come to the right hand portion, the private sector bank. So typically, how does a private sector bank recruitment happens? So there are 2-3 things. One is there is something called a probationary officer program. So you will see HDFC Bank's Future Banker. We will see Kotak's probationary officer program. You will see probationary. So once you complete graduation, you can go and apply in any of this basis the eligibility. There is a age eligibility is there, and then you have to clear the test. So then you apply for it, then you go through the process, and then if I don't want to take too much of time, but you get to understand on that. The second is you can go through campus. For example, many banks visit campuses. Most of the campus programs are postgraduate. So after you have done your graduation, if you do a postgraduate, they come and take freshers and they take them through a process. So that's another thing. The third is lateral hiring. Lateral hiring is basically if you have with 1-2 years experience having worked elsewhere, you can go and join any private sector bank basis the role. So these are the various aspect of it. And also you have something called a fleet on street, basically the BDRs of the world, business development officers, who are the first level of people who are purely into acquisition. So that's a pure sales roles. People go and join that. Overall, the process is for you're joining a private sector bank. First, you need to see the eligibility age in terms. Some banks will have public banks may also have a reservation quota, but private sector doesn't follow that. You need to follow the age. You should have been qualified, become a graduate or a postgraduate. Then you need to apply and take up the aptitude. The aptitude test for interview. After you clearing the interview, you will be absorbed into the bank. So there is depending, sometimes group discussion happens, psychometric test, that all varies between organizations to organization. But this is the overall this is a process happens as a career. So only one thing which I would say is never approach any third party to join any bank. Okay, no banks, whether it's HDFC or anybody, employ any third party unless it's a special program like Manipal Academy which you have tied up with. But what is happening is sometimes people are so greedy and they want to join quickly. They go and pay somebody, a third party, and do all those kind of things, because we continue to hear a lot of people misusing the names of the bank and telling, I will give you a job of 50,000 and this is the job and you give me X money, you transfer it to my Paytm account. People are still too very naive about it. So never get into that. You're from a good college, finish the college, take up the test, and then go through the process to the website of the respective bank channels. Don't go approach any third party individual, because how much ever we say, the parents are also very anxious and they do all this to get their children a job, which I would advise don't do that. Okay, so I've covered the careers in banking. So this is basically to give you a little bit more. While I spoke about specialist functions, this has become more innovative one. For example, you have your cyber security. Cyber security is basically what's happening is, as uh, people start transacting over the web, there are hackers who are waiting to infringe into the customer, get the money. So cyber security function is basically to protect all that, protect the customer from losing the money, protect the bank's reputation. So cyber security is one such function which is there. Then big data, since the large banks like HDFC deals with huge data, so big data modeling is one happening. The third one is UI UX. UI means user interface, UX means user experience. Basically, how to design a screen, because today all of us get fascinated by the screen, what we see, right? So UI UX, it's a separate designing aspect of it. How do I design it? So that's another specialist function which has come. And new age banking skills, if I have to look at it, it's more data driven, it's more risk governance model. These are the various things which are coming into banking from a very niche domain perspective. Next. So hold on. Sorry, go to the previous. I'm so sorry. If I would request you all to go through the last two, the triangle, the reverse triangle on the left hand side. You will see 50% traditional roles in BFSA will need reskilling. So which means whatever you learn even today, you have to continuously keep defining your skills. That's first one. The second one is 15 to 20% BFSA jobs would be new in nature by 2020. So as a student, you can't say, I'm passed out of this college, I'm ready for a job. No, it's not. You have to, because reskilling is very, very important. You need to learn new concepts, you need to learn new domains, need to learn new technologies, you need to learn new platforms. So keep doing that. So that's what it is. Now let's come to the next slide. So this slide is on niche. The next slide is mass skills, because both are required in banking space, right? So mass skills are basically what is hired in volumes in any bank or in any organizations. And typically these are all sales roles. Now, as a student, I keep hearing a lot of people saying that I don't want to do sales. I would like to do a desk job. I've seen my father working like this. We don't want to work like that. We would like to have a work-life balance. These are all myths. So I would recommend, if I were students of your age, I would be very open to get into sales, because what happens is sales gives you a lot of opportunity to grow quick, because the beauty of the sales function is measurables, right? Whatever you do, you can measure. So I would request advice to all the people in the WebEx or even your friends. Never be fixated not to do sales role. Okay, so the moment of truth is basically if you're able to win over your customer. Okay, the magic moment is you're able to give, if the customer is asking XYZ, you give more than XYZ. So when customer experience is greater than customer expectation is called a magic moment. So I'm sure you all expect the same magic moment even from your faculties, right? When you wanted, when you had only few doubts, but your faculty has clarified more than that. you're so gung-ho with that particular faculty. That's a magic moment for you. So when you're able to deliver more than what the customer is requiring, that's a magic moment. A moment of misery, is where you do the opposite, where the customer will not even come to you. And average moment is in between. So always look at in your life as a student, look at magic moment, like how you expect. You want pocket money of 100 rupees from your father, but your father gives you 500 rupees. That's a magic moment for you, because your father is able to understand your need, and your father may want you to take friends out. That's a magic moment for you. So always look at magic moment from a stakeholder, from a customer perspective. Similarly, or the other way, right? If your parents expect XYZ from you, if you're able to do more than that, that's a magic moment for your father. So our magic moment starts from our child and it continues. Even as a corporate, we continue to do that. So always work towards that. And to reiterate on the importance of sales, every bank, a good bank with a good policy process would have a wonderful scorecard system implemented. So like in HDFC Bank, we have a brilliant balance scorecard. So we have everything gets captured, everything gets measured. So you as an individual know how well are you doing as an individual, in which product you're not doing well. You get to know that. So that's the beauty of having a scorecard. So, and scorecard is a dynamic one. So today the organization needs XYZ as a focus. It may need ABC as a focus after 3 months. It changes. So that's the beauty of the scorecard. So always look at understanding what is the sales function, what is it all about. Sales function is what? Yeah, it's simple logic. Am I shying away from meeting my customer? So you should not shy away in meeting a new customers. You should not be shying away in customers saying no to you. No, that is the first one. Second thing is, are you able to determine your customers' requirement actively? The third is, am I able to influence the customer? So these three things, if then fourth is credibility. Am I able to live up to my customers' expectations? Meaning, what I commit, I perform. If you're able to do that, then you're the right person in sales. And even mine is a sales job. People think that sales means only sales function. It's not. Anything which requires to, like I'm trying to influence you all about banking careers. That's a sales role. I'm trying to influence you all not to be averse to sales. That's a sales role. So sales role is not only for field sales people, it's for everybody. Yes. Next. Okay, so I think this is a typical career path which I can give it to you for anybody. You join as an individual contributor, do well. If, within 3 years, subject to your performance, you become a team leader. Okay, and within 7 years, you become a manager, which is a cluster manager. Within 12 years, you become a regional head. So I know I can say in HDFC Bank, okay, people have joined at a very lowest level, and today they are at the top level. And that's the beauty of large institutions like HDFC Bank. There are a lot of organizations like that. I would say TCS. It's needless to mention Hindustan Unilever. You take any organizations. So this is typical a career path for all as an individual. So all of us start as an individual contributor and then get into a team handling role. So the individual contributor could be in operations, could be in IT, could be in audit, could be in HR, could be in L&D, could be in relationship management role. It could be in anything, because we all grow up over a period of time. So this just to give you an understanding. So within say 0 to 8 years of your passing out, you become a team handling role with a cluster manager kind of a role. That's a brilliant growth for anybody. And today's organizations, forget HDFC Bank. Today's organizations are not fixated like earlier used to be in government service. All you have to spend 5 years to be eligible for the next grade. It's not like that. So if I'm a vice president, I'm say 40 years old. I may also have a vice president who's 35 years old. I may have a vice president who's 45 years old. So it's purely basis performance, and that's the beauty of any private sector bank which has got a robust HR processes. They are no more fixated on tenure-based growth. It's purely performance-based growth and consistency of performance without any shortcuts. So I'm through with my, I think I took a little bit more than that, but banking topic is always very close to my heart, and nothing like addressing the students. So if there are any specific questions, I'll be able to answer. If I don't have answers, I'll either come back to you, or I'll also take help from my colleague who are from HDFC Bank. I take their help as well.
So first question, why should I choose the banking career?
Okay. See, choosing any career is a choice. Okay. Like, for example, my dad used to be a doctor. Okay. I have to be a doctor. This have to be a doctor is one. I want to be a doctor is one. So it's basically choosing a career is an individual choice. Now, why, my thing is that I never meant that everybody has to choose only banking as a career. So everybody has got, when I passed out, I moved into management. Some of my friends became a doctor. Some of them became a businessman. It's purely the individual choice. But every industry has got its own limitations, advantages, and disadvantages. What I meant is, if you choose banking as an industry, you can be rest assured it's a sunrise industry. You can be an IT. You can be a hacker. You want to be a hacker. You're very clued into it. You want to be a dancer. You want to get into fine arts. You want to get into visual communication. You want film. The beauty is today youth have got a plethora of opportunities. Among the plethora of opportunities, if you choose banking as a career, you can be rest assured there are more opportunities available, not only at the time of joining, but you can continuously grow. Like, I've been in this bank 8 years. This is my third role. In spite of having worked 20 years, I've been having roles every 2.5 years. So that's the beauty of banking. And banking is a sunrise industry always. There's no doom. Sometimes the industry may take a lull. Asset industry may take a lull, but banking industry never takes a lull. It keeps growing up the ladder. So that's the answer to the question.
Thank you, sir. The next question. What are the basic eligibility criteria to apply for a bank jobs?
Okay. Basic eligibility criteria to apply for bank jobs is you can be a minimum you be a graduate. Okay. If you're a graduate, you can join either a operations function or in sales function or in control functions you can do. But once you become a postgraduate, so when I'm a graduate, my starting salary is basis my education qualification and the role. But if I'm a postgraduate, it will vary accordingly. So it is also a function of what role you can. So, for example, in HDFC Bank, if I take a small example, I take PB sales, personal banker. I take them even from a postgrad college. I take them even from a graduate college. But the role may be the same. But the individual comes in at a particular level if it's from a postgraduate as against as a graduate. So it is varies basis that. But once you come in, the growth, everything is purely basis performance. So you may come across a graduate who is just grown within 2 years compared to a postgraduate who continues in this grade. So it's that. So minimum criteria is graduate, role, function is basis your individual and aptitude. I can join as a, I can join as a sales officer, I can join as a personal banker, I can join as a relationship manager, I can join as a welfare seller, I can join in a IT analyst, I can join as a business analyst across. It varies.
Thank you, sir. Next question. How to prepare for the bank exam, sir? And could you recommend some best institute for coaching this exam?
So, first of all, it depends whether you want to try in public sector or private sector. If it is public sector, you can do IT websites. Okay, they do for various banks, which I already covered. If it is private sector, you can go into any of this private. If it is private sector, go through any bank's website and apply there. Never go to any third party. If you want to go and apply, say, go to Kotak's website, careers page and apply.
So what is API? Can you put more light on that?
API is basically product interface. Okay, so let me give you an example. Very simple example. Now HDFC has decided to give say 25% offer to anybody who's a Uber customer. Correct? What we do is we are not going to give our database to Uber. What we will do, if our existing customers, if they want to avail the benefit, we integrate Uber's platform into platform, which means as soon as the customer chooses that, it automatically takes them to the Uber platform. So there we have created an interface between our product and their product, exposing our product. So that's called API. So API stands for application product interface. You're creating an interface between two products.
Thank you, sir. The next question. In this COVID-19 situation, does inflation or deflation of money in economy affects the banking sector?
Uh, it has a short-term impact because I told you in terms of tourism, there are times where we are working on the policy, but we are very clear. This is more of a short-term impact, and it will get adjusted over a period of time. So we don't see. While I'm not an economist, so not a subject matter expert to talk about. But from an end user perspective, we are only seeing this as a temporary phenomenon.
Thank you, sir. The next question. Suggest some saving patterns to follow during this pandemic situation.
Just some
Saving patterns to follow during this pandemic situation.
okay, saving patterns. Simple, meaning thanks to lockdown, our ability to go out of the house, spend time with friends is reduced. So social distancing has also got its own advantages. That itself would have brought down a lot of in terms of savings for all of us. And of course, I can personally say I've saved a lot of money by not being out and spending. And also it's important to understand, see, this situation is unique and none of us are ready to face it. So it takes a lot for us to go out of that, but savings pattern is purely be watchful, defer all your really needed. I only suggest before that, maybe after 3 months, unless it is very critical, anything related to your studies. Otherwise, I would recommend defer all your expenses over a period of 3 to 6 months. That's the best way to stay.
Sir, thank you. Next question. Does payment banks pose a threat to conventional banking, sir?
Payment bank pose threat to conventional banking? I don't think so. So the answer is no. Okay, payment has got their own product functionalities. Okay, of course, banking also expanding pay solutions. So it's an ecosystem which is required for everybody. No, like you need to have competition to do well. If you don't have competition, you will think that you're but you will not. So in a class, we have a ranking system. Why do we have a ranking? For an individual to know how he or she is doing compared to others. So payment banks is not a threat. It's a healthy competition. It has to compete.
We are very fortunate to have a presentation. You have just made it so clear from the origin of banking sector and the journey to all these days about private, public sector and the new age banking and what the banking today is, everything as a digital matter. I think you also explained that the numerous openings available in the banking sector, both in private and public sector. And you told that that is something very optimistic, sir, that is called as fundraising approach. So in the banking sector, I think taking into account the demand forecast in the banking and the finance, I think your speech is a boost to all the youngsters that they should not lose their confidence that after the COVID-19 or the lockdown, things will become somewhere downturn. No, it is going to improve as far as your statement is concerned, and you are very optimistic, and you have encouragement to all the youngsters. yes, the sky is even beyond the limit, but you like to make yourself fit into this organization. And always your qualifications, though it is one aspect, but your performance matters wherever you are. So thank you so much, sir, for giving such a kind of optimistic views to our younger generation students. So I think our students are more fortunate to have your presentation and it's an eye opener to all of them. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.